Floral romanticism, a romantic heart with arrow. Arrow is developed by using the flowers of Viburnum grandiflorum, cranberry flowers sourced from the Sanasar hills. They are quite fragrant and early bloomer, and the blossoms of Viburnum grandiflorum, called Kulmansh in Kashmiri, Gosh in Gujari, Taildi in Dogri, Tiond in Bhadrabhai, Timoi in Kumaoni language. And this arrow is developed using only fragrant blossoms of Viburnum grandiflorum. The heart is developed using the rose-like flower bunches. In fact, these are not roses, rather they are rhododendron flowers. Rhododendron arboreum, which is blooming in the temperate forests these days, and the flowers are useful in holy celebrations. So this heart is developed using the bunches of rhododendron arboreum, locally called as Jew in Ramnagar, Dudu Basantgarh, Bhilawar Hills, called Hardul in Rajouri Hills, Dera Ki Gali and Darhal, and also named as Ikargul in Sangad, Riyasi area. The flower is known as Lali Guransh in Uttarakhand, also in Nepal. This is edible rhododendron, petals are edible, and these bunches sourced from the Basantgarh mountains stands innovated as a romantic heart. And in the two chambers, if you presume they are ventricles, then each ventricle has been further decorated using the very medicinal, early blooming toxic herb called Birkium or Virkim Posh in Kashmiri language, which has been adored in Mehjur's poetry under the name Birkium. So this is Colchicum luteum. And here also the yellow, golden yellow, this is also named as meadow saffron, but this is not saffron, as here the number of stamens is 6. In true saffron, the number of stamens is 3. And number of style is also 3. And inside the golden yellow meadow saffron or naked ladies or Colchicum luteum flowers, there is a bunch of Viburnum grandiflorum in both these patches, and each 16 to 18 flowered bunch of rhododendron arboreum is alternately decorated with blossoms of Nargis. We call Heer Minjar in Dogri language, Nargis in Urdu, and flower is named as Yambarzal in Kashmiri language. So almost each bunch of rhododendron arboreum, Himalayan rose, tree rose, stands alternately decorated with the bunches of fragrant flowers of jonquil or Narcissus tagita. Each blossom has fragrant and this very golden yellow corona surrounded by the tepals. Tepals are in two whorls. Outer whorl corresponds to sepals, inner corresponds to petals. So sepals and petals are of same size, shape, color. So they are not named as sepals and petals, but they are named as tepals. So this is innovative floral heart with floral arrow as a symbol of Kamadeva, the god of love. So this particular season is celebrated as Madana Utsav from the beginning of Basanta Panchami in January, February till Holi celebrations. So Holi is being celebrated on 14th March, and just 4 days to go, and we have just celebrated Mahashivratri also, and in between we will be celebrating Amala Ekadashi on 10th March, where we worship the miracle, medicinal myrobalan, embolic myrobalan, Phyllanthus embolica. So all these gifts of nature, they stand gifted by the nature, Mother Earth, and they need to be conserved and preserved. But before conservation and preservation, the people who are sometimes oblivious of their significance or their existence, they need to be made aware regarding the what different kinds of beautiful, decorative, wild, native trees or flowers exist in our wilderness. On 3rd March, each year we also celebrate the World Wildlife Day. So this beautiful heart with the use of flowers of rhododendron arboreum, Chew Madal from the family Ericaceae, and arrow developed using the blooms of fragrant flowers of Viburnum grandiflorum, cranberry bush flowers, locally called as Teldi, Tiond, and each ventricle, so-called ventricle, adorned with the golden blossoms of Colchicum luteum, which yields colchicum. Although the more toxic Colchicum autumnale, a European species, is much exploited, but even this Colchicum luteum, which is found in Sanasar mountains and Trakota hills, even in Kashmir, Bhadrava, and it starts blooming much before the Mahashivratri. And its flowers are medicinal flowers, especially seeds and corms. They are useful against different types of cancers, leukemia, as well as for the treatment of arthritis, as this is useful against the uric acid complications. And this particular flower is called Suranja in Dogri language. The name has come from the Persian language, which is Suranjan et Talak. But in Kashmiri language, this flower is Virkium or Virkium Posh, adored in the Kashmiri poetry, especially the poems of Mahzur, who hailed from Kashmir, Pulwama. And this beautiful heart is just an idea for the youngsters or for the participants who are going to display different kind of floral arrangements in tomorrow's Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine flower show, where there are different categories, cut flower categories also. One can exhibit the blossoms of rhododendron arboreum, few twigs. Then one can use different kinds of small flowers, say Viburnum grandiflorum or Colchicum luteum, or maybe Basanti Hypericum perforatum or Hypericum oblongifolium, or even Rinbadshia indica, which is named as Pioli and is much revered, adored in folklore of Uttarakhand. And we find the celebration of Sont festival in Kashmir, which coincides with the blooming of the almond flowers and the zambarzal. But in Uttarakhand, you find rhododendron arboreum, borange, and the flowers like peoli, that is winter phlox, Rinbadshia indica. So this is just a, you can say, the kind of guidelines to those who aspire to put up or display some innovative floral arrangements. So rather than using only marigold flowers, we can use some other flowers seen in farmlands or on the edges of the forest boundaries. So whatever you use, the harvest should be sustainable. Only few branches or few flowers can be used for innovations, and those who aspire to go for commercial utilization of these resources, they need to undertake the cultivation of these plants, which have decorative value, aesthetic value, medicinal value, literary value, and since they are declining because of number of factors, the climate change, habitat fragmentation, degradation of habitat, forest fires, ever increasing infrastructure, road building in those critical habitats, we need to identify the habitats where these plants grow. So which are the areas where we find colchicum luteum need to be mapped as the sensitive locations for the existence of this unique medicinal plant, which has been used since ages by the Ayurvedic practitioners, and even the modern medicine corroborates its medicinal use against some kind of leukemic cancers and also against gout under the name Soranja. Our Dogras are familiar under the name Birkum Posh or Birkum Kashmiri communities well versed with this flower. Even literary poets like Mahzur also knew these plants and these flowers. Since Kashmir, we also have another plant flower herb which is named as Tekavatane, Anemone testanjai, not found in Jammu. So far I could not came across here, but found in Pampore area along in the vicinity of Shatlam wetland. So that can also be used to put up this great artistic display of the wildflowers. So far we are focusing on exotic flowers. Some are Australian, some are American, some are sourced from Africa, but we have not taken that much pains or that much passion to work on our own native flora and try to prioritize some of these taxa which have decorative value. And if they are raised in the forest nurseries or even in the private nurseries, they will fetch a very good market in the future and also save the plants being exploited from the wilderness. So our wilderness forest biodiversity need to be conserved and preserved, whereas such flowers, if we are really attracted because of their beautiful color or floral architecture or medicinal value or some aesthetic value or religious value or literary value, then we need to start cultivating these plants in our neighborhood, in our orchards, in our kitchen gardens, in our roadside plantations. So here is a lesson. Each one of us need to understand the beauty of these gifts which God has gifted. And I think this season, Basantotsav or Madanotsav is the appropriate time to explore the wonders of nature. And tomorrow, since Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine is celebrating its annual flower show on 19th March Sunday, So this is another opportunity where the flower lovers, plant conservationists, they need to visit different stalls put up by different scientists, herbal growers, flower enthusiasts, or herbal growers, and even I think the herbal innovators should be involved, because these many of these plants, flowers, they are edible also. Either fruit is edible, either petals are edible, either leaf is edible. Oh, there's a kachanar, there's a moringa, where we can consume the flower. And we need to look around whether because of the climate change, the early temperature rise in January and February has caused the change in any phenology of these flowers in the wilderness. That data need to be collected, analyzed for future learnings, so that we try to minimize the carbon footprint. We need to minimize the pollutants. We need to minimize the use of plastics, and we need to adopt the organic kind of organic agriculture, organic farming. We may go for hydroponics. We may go for new techniques, the modern techniques, where we need to minimize our burden on the natural forest areas, and whatever we want to utilize or display in our flower shows and other programs, that material need to be grown in our farmlands and orchards, so that natural wealth remains intact to carry out the ecological functions, so that ecological integrity is not touched, it is not vandalized, it is not disturbed, as the wilderness is also the habitat for different insects, the butterflies, the birds, mammals. So we need to look after the natural forest, and humans who have some kind of intuition or they have interest to use these plants, then they should be encouraged, or they should adapt to large scale cultivation of these useful decorative and medicinal flowers like rhododendron arboreum, Viburnum grandiflorum, Colchicum luteum is medicinal, not edible. So this is the romantic heart with romantic arrow, just to catch the imagination of Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine flower show visitors. And tomorrow you may find much beautiful and more impressive and more innovative designs, but this is just a precursor to what we are going to witness tomorrow in the Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine, earlier named as Regional Research Laboratory, and where Janaki Mal, the first woman botanist of India, hailing from Kerala, has worked, and the herbarium stands named in her memory, in her respect, in her recognition of the contribution in the herbarium of Jammu Regional Research Laboratory. The herbarium stands named as Janaki Amal Herbarium. So since we are going to see the flower show tomorrow, that Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine and founder director was again son of the soil, Colonel Ramnath Chopra, and its foundations were laid much before the independence of India, somewhere in 1941. And even Kalashinath Kaur has done very good work in the drug research laboratory while working on aromatic Artemisia maritima, we call Seski in Dogri. So even the aromatic leaves of Seski can be used for decorating artistic arrangements, displays, and even as some imaginary or innovative floral umbrellas or floral bow and arrows, whatever. So younger minds have a lot of inquisitiveness, a lot of flying imagination. so they can put up very interesting artistic arrangements tomorrow in the proposed Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine flower shop.